Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us, and Happy New Year, everybody. It's January. I am Heather Ledoux. I'm the Executive Director of Professional Programs and Partnerships at Franklin Pierce University, as well as the chair of our TechWomen Power Breakfast. So again, Happy New Year. Thank you for joining us on our continued edition of our virtual TechWomen Power Breakfast. If you're new this morning, type in the chat box. Let us know that you're new or you're a first timer, and we'll all make you feel welcome. And for those of you who are regulars or just haven't been with us for a while, welcome back. Love to have you. Thank you so much for joining us again. I thought it would be interesting to tell you a couple facts from 2021 that might be somewhat interesting from our Tech Women Power Breakfast. Looking back on 2021, obviously, everybody has had our continued challenges, and I really am grateful that we've been able to continue our monthly power breakfast with this remote platform. And we've had a regular following, and because it's been virtual, it's been wonderful to be able to tap into other speakers from out of the area who normally wouldn't be able to join us, as well as attendees. We've had people from actually DC that come on a regular basis, Chicago, in other areas of the country. And then people in our own state, we know how hard it is from the Monadnock region or up north to join us. So it's really been wonderful from that perspective. And with that, I just thought you'd find it interesting. We've had 607 registrants at our breakfasts, which is a significant amount, figuring, everybody having to challenge in the morning. It's not always easy, right, to get up to join us. So we've had 607 people register for a monthly breakfast. And as you know, we record these and then they're up on the Alliance's YouTube channel. And we've had additional 240 viewings of our presentation. So I thought, a round of applause for my committee members and everybody for that. And I thank you for joining us and keeping this going until we're able to meet back again in person. And for those of you who are new, just so you're a little bit more aware of what we're all about, we come together every single month, the second Wednesday of the month. And the point is that, it's an amazing group of people. We come together to grow professionally. We grow personally. We share inspirational stories. We network with each other like we were doing this morning, and we will again at the end. We keep the room open from 9 to 9:30 for people wanting to continue networking or talk to our sponsors of the month. And we really bring awareness to what's possible for women in technology today. So that's what we're all about. And the next month's breakfast is also going to be virtual, and we are planning to meet back in person in March. So as of right now, mark your calendars. We will be back at the Manchester Country Club in Bedford for March, unless, of course, something happens and we have to make a change, then we'll be remote. But as of right now, that is the plan. So thank you. All right. If you want to know about more events that are happening within the Alliance, please go to nhtechalliance.org/calendar. And, share what's going on. Share it on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. These are all of our channels. And like I mentioned, this is recorded. So within the next day or two, Stephanie from the Alliance will upload this to the Alliance's YouTube channel, so you can share it out, or if you need to revisit anything that our speaker is talking about today. So our Power Breakfast series is brought to you by our sponsorships, and I just thought I'd share with you some of the benefits of sponsoring one of our breakfasts. You do have the opportunity to speak at an event to spotlight your company. All your company's name will be included in all our press releases prior to the event, all the newsletters that go out, on the social calendar at the Tech Alliance, and it really highlights your company's commitment to supporting women and girls in technology. With that said, I want to thank you and introduce Alumni Ventures. Thank you so much for sponsoring our event, kicking off the new year right, Alumni Ventures. Thank you so much. Please welcome Hillary to the stage, and she'll tell you all about Alumni Ventures. Hillary.
Great. Thank you, Heather, for having me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Hillary Nicala. I am the Vice President of Investor Relations at Alumni Ventures, And we are the most active venture capital investor in the United States, and we're headquartered right here in Manchester, New Hampshire. We offer diversified venture capital portfolios for accredited investors. Alumni Ventures is proud to support the New Hampshire Tech Alliance and TechWomen, Tech Girls Initiative, and we recognize the importance of supporting female professionals as they develop innovative solutions to society's greatest challenges. So since our founding, we have believed and invested in women-led startups, which earn 78 cents per dollar invested compared to 31 cents for male-only teams. Even startups with just one woman on their founding team have 63% higher valuations than their all-male counterparts. And we've invested in great women-led companies like Ellevest, which is an investment platform designed specifically for women's financial goals. We've invested in Nix, which designs women's seamless, chafe-free intimate apparel, and Willow, which is the first FDA-approved in-bra, hands-free breast pump. And despite all of this, men still command the vast majority of venture capital dollars and opportunities. Startups with all male teams receive a whopping 87% of VC funding, and only 16% of partners at venture firms are women. This bias has a ripple effect. Female-founded startups employ 2.5 times more women compared to male-led companies. So we at Alumni Ventures believe that our investors can do well financially while doing good in the world. We actually just launched our third impact fund to help support companies led by women and other founders from historically underrepresented groups. And we'll also invest in companies focused on promoting diversity or addressing systemic bias. So thanks to the work of the New Hampshire Tech Alliance, we are confident that we'll see more women-led companies making an impact on the Granite State and beyond. And we're happy to support today's breakfast and presentation. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Hillary, and thank you, Alumni Ventures. We really appreciate that. Give me one more second here to go back to what I'm sharing. Okay. And you'll see when we go back after the presentation today, if you're back to the floor, we have a billboard with Alumni Ventures on there, and there should be a direct link to their website, so check them out. And thank you again for sponsoring. We really appreciate your support. So also these breakfasts are brought to you by my fabulous committee, Shannon Herman, Ping King, Katie Geary, and you'll notice our newest member to the committee, Caitlin Griffin, from a senior accountant, also from Alumni Ventures. So thank you so much, Caitlin, for joining our committee. We really appreciate it and can use the extra support. So if you have any questions in regards to sponsorship or anything about the breakfast, please feel free to reach out to any of my committee members, and we'd be happy to answer any questions for you. If you're interested in getting involved, like Caitlin just got involved. We were discussing sponsorship, and she decided to tip her toe in the water and join our committee. But we would love an additional support. So if you're interested or know someone that might be, send them our way or talk to one of my committee members. Okay, while you're all here today, Jody Holt, let me introduce Jody. We're really excited to have Jody back today as a previous speaker. Jody, this is a special occasion for us because it marks the first repeat speaker for the TechWomen Power Breakfast series in all of our 6+ years that we've been running these events on 2 separate topics. So it's really fun to have Jody back after we're almost into year 7 now. So back in 2016, Jody spoke on the topic of policies and practices for a professionally fulfilling life, a marathon, not a moment. And she's lived that marathon example with continuously rising to new challenges, adjusting and pivoting into new roles. Jody has continued to make her mark as an established leader in business, on boards, and working with nonprofits. Jody's a perfect person to ask back to talk to with our community, and she is a great example of constantly adapting in her career. Jody is a CPA and sorry, tongue-tied today, CFO, with 30 plus years serving startups to Fortune 500 companies, executing dozens of M&A transactions, implementing strategic initiatives, and increasing shareholder value. Currently, she is the CEO and co-founder of Kincern, Inc., which is focused on helping families get organized around finances and administration leveraging technology. Jody began her career at PwC, was formerly the CFO of Single Digits, which is a New Hampshire tech success story that most of you have probably heard about. And then most recently as the CFO of Covenant Living, the 6th largest senior living company in the U.S. Jody has also served on numerous boards and nonprofits, but credits her mom for teaching her to work hard, care for others, and get organized. Please give Jody a warm welcome and a virtual round of applause. Jody.
Good morning, everyone. Nice to see you. Gosh, Heather, thanks for that wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And yep, it was, I think, September of 2016 where I was sharing at the Manchester Country Club, and how quickly those years go by. Wow, it really goes by quickly. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and hopefully you can all see it well. Just give me one moment here. All right, so you should be able to see hold on, here we go. There we go, okay. Should be able to see a PowerPoint deck, and just with the title of TechWomen, Tech Girls. It's really hard to read the room when you're on giving a virtual presentation, so I'm gonna rely on Heather as much as possible to let me know if you can't hear me or if you can't see the slides. A number of years ago, really close to 30 years ago, we were a young couple, my husband Brad and I, married. We had 2 small children, a 18-month and a 2-month-old, living in a tiny studio in the Back Bay of Boston. And our first mortgage, Brad, my husband, forgot to pay. He just forgot. Recall, these were the days where you couldn't just go online and check your mortgage. There was no online tool, no portals, no daily way to look at our finances, no alerts, no notifications. The only way I learned about it is we got a piece of paper in the mail that said, you may be foreclosed on your loan. I freaked. As a CPA type A, I freaked. Brad and I had started our marriage with me doing most of the bill paying, but with 2 little ones, I complained and said, I can't do all of this. And he said, fine, I'll take the bills on. Anyway, so when this notice came home, I freaked. And seeing the sign of a foreclosure on our first home really scared me. I couldn't just go online and pay the bill. There was no online portal, like I said. So what did I do? I packed up the 18-month-old, I packed up the 2-month-old, put on their snowsuits, put them in the stroller, and headed to the train to head into downtown Boston. Walked into the bank there and paid the mortgage and learned about the status of the mortgage. It was no big deal, really, but in my mind, it was huge. I totally lacked the peace of mind about all that. Don't get me wrong, Brad's a smart guy and just not one to do the finances and admin. So since that moment, for 20 plus years now, I've been doing all the finances and admin for our family, much like many of you. Here's a picture of my family I shared 5 years ago or whenever I was up here. We have 3 grown sons. Heather did a nice job of giving you my professional background. And in 2021, I finally got the girl. My middle son got married, and we're excited to have a daughter-in-law in the family. Very proud to be the mom of 3 grown sons now, all out working in the professional world. And my husband's an attorney here in New Hampshire. All this presentation, I couldn't do anything without all of them. They are my biggest cheerleaders. So glad to introduce you to them. Today, we're going to cover kind of the background and some lessons from 20 and 21, as well as my personal operating system. And I hope that you'll chime in as well. and just really spend a little time getting to know one another. About a year ago, as Heather mentioned, I co-founded a company called Kincern and set out to help families with exactly the problem I talked about at the beginning, helping them to get organized around all the finances and admin, particularly at the later stages of life. Think of all the paperwork and how undigitalized our parents are or our grandparents are. And so Kincern was born to help them pull all that information together, pull all their financial information together to give them clarity and peace of mind as times get more fragile during those later stages of life. But during this year, speaking with over 700 people with all sorts of different backgrounds, many of them professional women, shared that they're worried about their parents' finances. Not so much just even about what they have, but they don't know what they have. And they're also didn't know where to find it. I also learned of how many women were just really unsure about their own finances and how to really save and invest for the future. I'm not a financial planner. I'm not a wealth advisor, but hearing this over and over again reminded me of just the differences in how women save and men invest. I'm not going to go into the details on this slide, but really just highlights that 78% of the money invested by men goes into stocks and mutual funds versus only 63% of women. The point is, men take the time to meet with financial advisors and invest wisely to grow their money versus women generally take their money and save it at a much lower return on investment. So it's given me an additional passion for all those different things. Before I jump into this slide, last week my family was in town. I come from a large family, and some of my family was in town for the holidays. And my sister, whose husband has got a pretty serious heart condition right now, he ended up in the hospital a couple months ago, and his heart is functioning at only like 20%. While she was here, she broke down in tears and said a couple weeks ago, she realized she had no idea how to access any of the accounts, how to find the will, who the attorney was, and all that. She woke up in the middle of the night in a panic, and the next day, she and her husband sat down and went through it all and started making a document or their own operating system about where all these things are. And then yesterday, speaking with a wealth advisor, she shared with me that her 32-year-old client dropped dead of a heart attack. And the new young mother, they have a newborn with them, has no idea who the attorney is, has no idea how to figure out all the different things. And the wealth advisor is now trying to figure it out with her. So as we kick off 2022, I'm not here to give you a heart attack, but provide some hacks and helps to get you organized and share with you my own personal operating system and what I've learned through the way, and really what I've learned about the value of friendship and the human connection in all this, and how that operating system is so very important, but really it's that human connection that makes everything so solid. I think I shared 5 years ago, one symbol that helps me get through life is the symbol of a bridge, which sounds like a funny thing, but I was originally an architect major. I love building and design, and bridges for me mimic, the ability to go from one side to another side, or the connection and how we need that networking connection, or a metaphor for getting to the other side and starting something new. So I'll also highlight some of those connections and bridges in my life. But first off, I just wanted to share this slide. What are the different various roles we play? We play a lot of different roles in our lives, but I thought this woman here highlighted a bunch of them. I don't know if anyone wants to or is willing to share in the chat some of the roles we play right now. If we're in the room, I would pick on you, but what are the roles we play right now? Okay, I see some here. Grandmother, daughter, employee, student, caregiver. Right, it's all these different roles. We're some cases a wife or a mother or a daughter or a stepdaughter or a granddaughter or a step-granddaughter, right? We have so many different roles we play. We're a cousin, we're an aunt, we're a sister, we're a friend, we're a colleague, and then also we're a cook, we're a housekeeper, administrator of our home, a wife, a mom. She who knoweth, we're all the things, right? All the different things we play, a professional, a finance manager. I'm seeing everyone pop in the chat now. Thanks for sharing. And has COVID really made that all easier? Probably not likely. I know in my household, although so grateful a couple of my sons came home, it did mean we were at grabbing a gallon of milk a day and all that cooking and cleaning that has to happen when you have a house full. And not that they didn't chime in or help out, but it's still a lot of work for all the roles we play. My next slide, oops, somehow I lost the slides. Hold on just 1 minute. Let me share again. There we go. Good, I think you're able to see him again. Let's see, this will, there we go. So I kind of broke my operating system down into kind of four main buckets: sleep, exercise, education, and what I would call sisterhood. Gretchen Rubin is the author of a book called The Happiness Project, and I picked it up probably like 5 or 6 years ago. And it's really just a light read, but really she's very funny about her own kind of personal operating system. And she spends the year really looking for happiness. As a professional working woman in a household with food on the table and kids under her feet and a husband, she felt like she should be much happier. And she sets out on a pursuit to kind of dissect her life each month and shares it in a very funny way. The Happiness Project is worth a good read. But she says in there, sleep deprivation impairs memory, weakens the immune system, slows the metabolism, and might even foster weight gain. And it's so true how important sleep is. If you don't sleep well, you really don't operate well. And you know, for me, it's trying to get to bed at 11 at night so I can be up at 6:37 in the morning. And if I do that, I'm usually headed out the door or headed to the office, wherever we head these days, feeling pretty good about my sleep. Sleep is really important. For me, the next thing is really exercise. If I don't get outside every day, my family can feel it and they'll tell me, go get outside, you need some fresh air. But over the last couple of years, I've started to lean on a couple apps that really have helped me during the day or throughout the day. If I get up in the morning and I take some time to do a little yoga, Boho Beautiful is an excellent app. I love her. She's a very athletic woman, I think a former ballerina, and has excellent all sorts of online resources, YouTube videos, to do a 10-minute yoga exercise workout or a 60-minute yoga workout. So check out Boho Beautiful. Asana Rebel is one of those apps I have on my phone. Again, it's very easy to pick a 5-minute workout or a 50-minute workout. So definitely an app worth looking at. I think it's like $2.99 a month. The other really important component of my personal operating system is the Bible. And the app I have on the phone for that is the YouVersion app. I think they have 500 million downloads. And there's also sorts of tools and tips on how to access the Bible or other Bible studies. And for me, it's been just a tremendous app and look at that every day. Audible, of course, is another great way for me to get in some exercise while taking in all sorts of, usually for me, educational books around business and productivity or listening to other leaders. So I really love Audible. And then I also put down here the New Living Translation of the Bible. And for me, it's going to Proverbs every day. There's 31 Proverbs in the Bible, one for each day of the month. And there are invaluable lessons in there on leadership. So that's kind of my exercise, if you will, for the day, my E. So we've got the first S, sleep, the second E for exercise. And under that is all these different apps and methods I use to kind of keep the body moving and the brain moving and the mind and the soul moving in the right direction. The other part of of my operating system is, of course, education. So sleep, exercise, and education. And that's, using that Audible app for all sorts of different ways to intake books, and of course, Spotify or some other app to take in podcasts. But a handful of different authors have spoken to me throughout my life, and they're here on this slide. Gretchen Rubin, Jen Hatmaker, Brene Brown, many of you have sure have heard of. Some of these are a little more obscure. Shauna Nyquist, Anna Quinlan, I just read her Lots of Candles, Plenty of Cake, which was a great read, and Sarah Young of Jesus Calling. These are kind of what I would refer to as books to kind of look at the end of the day or throughout your day, and really have been encouragement and help me to laugh and look at life from a slightly different perspective, or really align with exactly the way I'm thinking. So just some books that I'd want to share. Some apps. What are the apps I use, kind of maybe not necessarily on a every day, but some that I've learned about over the last year, and certainly some that I do use every day. Like your phone, I rely on all the Microsoft products. As my husband says, you think, breathe, sleep, eat in Excel. So certainly use Excel as a software tool, and I'm sure many of you do. I also threw up all those Intuit products from TurboTax, QuickBooks. Mint is a great free tool to do your family budget, or just get on there and aggregate all your financial accounts. Is really a great tool. Robinhood, if you haven't used Robinhood, I love it. I do my own little personal investing, and it's so easy to use and easy to see what's going on in the market. So I'm a Robinhood fan. They had some issues over the last year with the stock and the GameStop situation, but I do think it's an excellent tool to use. Trust and Will is a company I came upon in the last year. They do a really nice job of putting together a trust and a will if you don't have one in place, at a very low fee. You can go online, do all of the information online, and put together a really nice package at a really low rate if you're looking for just a simple trust or will to get in place. And I implore you to do that, ladies and gentlemen that are here on the meeting invite. If you don't have a trust or will done, particularly a will, and you think you have, well, I don't have much money and I don't have children or whatever, you need a will. You need a will. Certainly, as things get more complicated, you may want to rely on an estate attorney to get it done. But Trust and Will does a pretty good online version of that. Truebill in the middle. Learned about this company this year. Think of all the subscriptions we sign up for out there. Truebill is a good way to get online and see what subscriptions do I have, and they can help you cancel some of those subscriptions. I certainly threw Kincern up there, like Heather mentioned, and like I mentioned, we're all about pulling all your financial information together, all your essential documents together in one secure place so that you can collaborate with your family, particularly focused on the later stages of life. Mama Bear learned of this company. If you have kids that are in their teens and about to head off to college, when they turn 18, you really lose the ability to do anything for them anymore unless they sign a release form, more or less. And certain colleges have their forms to be able to do that. You might be paying the college bill and can't see their grades. Mama Bear is an online tool that allows you to quickly put together that power of attorney over your son or daughter, and so that you can have that kind of opportunity to help them make decisions. So Mama Bear is definitely worth taking a look at. Coinbase, if you've done any kind of cryptocurrency investing, I think it's a really great platform. I've dipped my toe in it just a little bit. My sons are quite interested in it, and it was really a way to kind of foster a relationship with them and learn a little bit about the crypto market. So Coinbase, I recommend. Storyworth, this is another company I learned about this past year, and they do a beautiful job. I think it's $100. You sign up and can share it with a parent or grandparent. They get an email once a week with a story prompt for them to go ahead and write a story about their childhood or their early marriage or their time in the war. And Storyworth then pulls all those together at the end of the year and delivers a hardbound book with all mom or dad's or grandma or grandpa's stories in it. Cozy, the family organizer, many of you use that. I used it a little bit years ago. I don't use it currently, but I think it's a good system, particularly when you have young kids and all the scheduling and everything around there. Snapfish up at the top, many of you, I'm sure, use some kind of photo organizer or iMac or something, but for me, it's been a lifesaver with so many little projects to be able to send some personalized gifts in just a few keystrokes. So these are some of the things I kind of use, pretty much on a daily, daily, but all sorts of other things. I would say Robinhood. I also have the E-Trade app on my phone. I definitely use Robinhood more than E-Trade. For me, I like the simplicity of the Robinhood account, but you'd maybe want to look at E-Trade. I said earlier, bridges remind me to keep moving. And, so in this talk, I want to keep moving and move on to what I would refer to as my sisterhood. I mentioned that my family, of course, is really critical in keeping an operating system in place. But through life, I've recognized how important sisterhood is and how important friends are in helping us through. And so with giving this talk, I reached out to a handful of my people, my sisterhood, to say, what apps or techniques or things do you use or rely on to get through life, particularly with 20 and 21 being such difficult years for many of us. And I'm going to share some of those with you in kind of a roll call. These are just some of the girlfriends, some of my sisters that really have breathed into my life. And one friend particularly, her name's Wendy. We grew up together next door to each other. And she's a very accomplished woman. She went to Dartmouth, went to Harvard, co-founded a company with her husband. They worked on it for 12 years. It was an event app software. They sold it a couple of years ago quite successfully, and just is a real good partner in helping me figure out many things in life. Her suggestion was, sometimes we need to make really mundane choices to keep our sanity. And so Wendy, every day, eats the same thing for lunch. It's a little lettuce. I think she has some dressing on there, 2 pieces of Dave's bread, a big hunk of cheese, and an apple. And when talking with her, she's like, gosh, I know that sounds really boring and mundane. We really do dinner up well. But for her to eliminate the food decision throughout the day kept her on track and just eliminated a lot of decision making. And so for her, it's the same thing. Boring, she would say, but dinner's something to look forward to. And it's a bunch of less decisions she has to make every day. The other thing she said, completely drop the idea that you're going to get it all done. It's the anti-life hack. Take the time to truly prioritize what you have to get done and focus on that. She says, we ambitious females put an unbelievable amount of pressure on ourselves, 18 hours a day, multitasking, and holding ourselves to an impossible to achieve standard. So completely drop the idea of you're going to get it all done. And it's quite freeing. One of my sisters is a hairdresser, and her advice was, talk to your hairdresser. She says, you wouldn't believe the questions I get and the amount of conventional wisdom and other wisdom I've learned from being behind the chair all day long for about 30 years. Reach out to your hairdresser. Think of that person in your sisterhood. I also reached out to a friend of mine, Ginger, who says she really does a gratitude journal. She started this, I think, a year or so ago, and every day she writes down what is she grateful for. She starts her morning that way. And she said at first it was kind of hard. I had 1 or 2 things, and she's like, now I have so many things to be grateful for. And when she starts her day with that, it goes so much better. The other thing she says, she wanted to look back to see what she learned. And so she has started to take a piece of paper and write on that piece of paper each week something that was a highlight of the week. and she puts it in a jar. And at the end of the year, she pulls those things out and can remember her year in a very way to be thankful for. And so she calls it her gratitude jar. And then the last thing she left with me is say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And she kind of tells herself that every morning as she goes about her day. The last thing she suggested, and I don't think we'll have time for it here, is a white paper exercise. And the day she shared this with me, it was snowing. And she pulls out a sheet of white paper. You can draw a circle in the middle of it. And in the middle of the circle, put all the things that you kind of hope and dream for, or your goals for 22. Put all that inside the circle. Write it all out. And then outside the circle, write all the things you don't want to see happen. And for her, this exercise really gave her clarity as she's heading into 22 on what to focus on. I have another friend who shared about meal prep. She uses the app Trello, the free version, to do meal prep. And she said that has saved her tremendously with preparing all those family meals. And so she really encouraged you to use Trello. I use Trello for project management. I hadn't thought about it for meal planning, but maybe that's a good way to go. And finally, another sister said, begin as you wish to proceed. And when you get to a crossroads, take the time to really think about it. I was at a turning point in my career a handful of years ago, and I took this advice at heart, went for a walk along the beach, and really took the time to think about what do I really care? What do I really want to see going forward? And this is just my sketching on the beach. In the middle is God. For me, my faith is really important. I need that at the center. It centers and grounds me. Other things around the circle are family, of course. Brad wanted to know why I didn't write husband, but I think of him as my family. He's like, you should have husband separately. For me, I put art and architecture. Those are two things, kind of side passions. Getting outdoors, I mentioned. Finance has always been interesting to me. Friends, staying active, and organization. And so just take the time to stop and think about what you want your year to look like, and take the time to do that exercise and begin the year as you wish to proceed. Also during this time, I relied on a mentor and went to him, and he really gave me a lot of encouragement, and he also gave me a lot of data. And that data and encouragement gave me the backbone to go into my boss at the time and ask for a raise. And I ended up with a 30% raise. And so just again, want to encourage you to lean on that sisterhood, learn from them, get the data from them so that you can have the backbone to go do the things you need to do and ask for what you deserve. A handful of friends shared that they cleaned out some closets over the holidays and thought that was quite freeing. They didn't realize all the clothes they weren't wearing. And particularly once they cleaned out their closet, they actually felt like they had more clothes because they could see the clothes they actually wanted to wear. So a few people said that. We all know that freeing feeling of when you get rid of some stuff. Gretchen Rubin said, the author of The Happiness Project, said an important aspect of happiness is managing your moods, and studies show that one of the best ways to lift your mood is to engineer an easy success, such as tackling a long delayed chore. I know I had a silly bridal shower gift on my list for a couple weeks. It kept nagging at me, and finally I ordered it. It took about 40 seconds. And that's kind of her thought. When you've got these little things, if you get them out of the way, you can realize how freeing them could be. She said, only 48 words and 45 seconds to write that email, yet it had been weighing on my mind for 2 weeks. Such unfinished tasks were disproportionately draining. So go ahead and try to get those things done. I heard from a few friends in my sisterhood, more the silent type, that they said, I have nothing to offer. And I probably learn more from these folks than they know. Learn a lot from them. I had one friend who said she's involved with Caring Crochet. I think this is an online online way to connect with other women that crochet. They send you yarn and pattern and per month, and then you mail the finished project to a charitable organization. As this woman said, I really don't need a ton of crocheted items, but I get the benefit of the emotional release and to send to someone that can really use it, from baby blankets to domestic violence victims. It makes for a huge difference for her. Another friend said she really relies on all the grocery store apps. I know I've used the Hannaford app. I've used some other supermarket apps, and yep, sometimes it's really worth that extra little fee to have those groceries sitting on the front door or delivered to your door. She also made the point that it also can save you a bunch of time because you end up not overbuying food or impulse buying food, and you buy exactly what you need. And then one of the last tips was from a friend who says she uses the USAA for for financial planning. And the point there is to use some kind of financial planner. If you think you don't have much, it really makes a difference to start to taking a look at all that. Maybe you don't want to rely on just one wealth advisor. Maybe you want to reach out to a couple, but start to lean on a wealth advisor or some kind of financial advising app. I know we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, Hillary mentioned Ellevest, a great service co-founded by Wall Street veteran Sally Krawcheck. Ellevest is really worth taking a look at. The other thing I want to say is don't be embarrassed if you have no background in financial planning or feel like you don't even know what your credit score is or don't think your credit score is good enough to start financial planning. A number of years back when I was at Covenant Living, I learned about a program called Working for Credit. And it was a program to help our employees increase their credit score. And in that program, I learned that if you are using more than 30% of the credit on your credit card, so if your credit limit is, let's say, $1,000, and you tend to carry more like $500 or $600 a month on your credit card, you're actually hurting your credit score, even if you make that minimum payment every month. Maybe you all knew that, but if you carry more than 30% of the credit limit on your credit card, you are actually hurting your credit. So it might be something you want to look at. Use some of those financial aggregator tools I mentioned, not only really just to see everything you have, but cyber fraud is at an all-time high. And these tools like Kincern and other tools can help identify when there's been some kind of hacking into your accounts. And you'll be able to know if your identity's been hacked or if there's some kind of fraudulent behavior going on your accounts. Anyway, that's it about the working with a financial advisor and doing something of that nature. Here, one of my biggest lessons in 20 and 21 with this COVID is from a friend of mine named Anne. And I think she can help all of us. I want to leave you with this talk with a little inspiration from Anne. Yes, I shared some different hacks and things, but this is probably the biggest lesson here. In May of 2019, I got a call from Anne. I was living in Chicago, moved there from here in 2017. It's working for a large senior living company, and I got a call from Anne. Let me give you a little background about Anne and I. She and I have been friends since the kids were in grammar school over at Riddlebrook in Bedford. We attended the same church, and about 10 years ago, we moved across town right into Anne's neighborhood. And with us having a dog and them having a dog and our kids involved in school, we became quick friends. And although our friends, although our kids were roughly the same ages, a lot of similarities ended there. When I dropped my kids off at school in the morning, I headed to the office. Anne dropped her kids and went to work in a different way. I was enamored with her incredible ability and her capacity for all kinds of volunteer work, from teaching special needs kids to ski to volunteering with the Seafarers mission in Boston. One late spring, when I was kind of overworked, Anne approached me about taking on an exchange student for the summer. Not just 1 week she was talking about for the summer. And I said, Anne, I'm too busy with work. I can't take it on right now. No, I can't take it on. But before I knew it, Guillermo, our Spanish exchange student, was on our front door, and we had an amazing experience with them. Let me tell you another story about Anne. 4 years ago, this picture is from there. I was on a business trip to Florida. Brad couldn't join me, and it was an opportunity. We were going to be at the Disney Institute for about a week with all sorts of training all day, but my evenings were going to be free. And Anne, I mentioned it to Anne, and she said, I'll come with you. I'll visit my mom, who was in assisted living facility down there during the day, and you and I can hang together at night. And so that was Anne's way, always looking for fun. So I headed down to Florida, and Anne did what she did during the day, visit with her mom, and we'd meet for dinner. But after dinner one night, she said, we're going in the hotel pool. I said, Anne, I've got stuff. I've got a presentation in the morning. She said, no. We're going in the hotel pool. So this is like 10 o'clock at night. I'm ready to go to bed. And Anne, in her way, is ready to just have more fun. So we go to the pool, which has this huge water slide, and we ride the water slide over and over again in just Anne's way. It wouldn't be something I would do, but Anne brought fun to just about everything. The lifeguard at about 11 p.m. looked at us and said, ladies, is this your last run? And I'm sure he wondered what the two of us were up to. But anyway, Anne's also the type of friend. In the year 2015, my husband went to Africa for the year with the U.S. Navy. He's a Navy officer. And Anne and her family made a point of stopping by our house every single day that year, just to check in on us. I know you guys are busy with work and everything, just making sure you're all okay. You get the idea of the kind of person Anne is. So back in May of 2019, she reached out to me and said, I was living in Chicago. She said, remember I told you I was having a hard time seeing the tennis ball, thinking it was my eyes and turning 50? She said, I think I have a brain tumor, and I think it's cancerous. I know many of you have received these kind of calls from friends and family. I was shocked. She went on to say, I am not telling anyone because Ken and I, her husband's name's Ken, want to protect the kids and live a life as normal as possible. They told me I would have 12 months, if I'm lucky, to live. That was May of 2019. I was in Chicago. She was in New Hampshire. I came home the summer of 2019. I still hadn't told anyone. She hadn't told anyone. She was getting radiation treatments. I took her for a drive because she really couldn't drive anymore because she wasn't seeing so well. She still had all her hair, and she took me over the bridge from Bedford into the east side of Manchester to a tiny little church. I think it technically is more of a convent on the east side of Manchester. And she took me there and took me to a pew where we sat and just prayed. And she didn't necessarily pray for healing, but she prayed for peace. She's like, I just want peace around all this. And anyway, Anne and her family spent the next 10 months. They went on all sorts of trips. They visited with families and friends. They hiked, they skied, they backpacked, and the illness kept her from almost anything. She started to look a little skinnier, and she started to look a little sicker, and friends from Bedford started reaching out to me in Chicago. Hey, what's going on with Anne? How can I help? Soon she had to share the news, and she was needing more and more help. Her condition was becoming more evident. I saved a voicemail from Anne that she sent to me back in May of 20. So COVID had hit. Things got kind of, shut down, as we all know. And Anne was at home a bunch, right? Because of COVID. And she called me, and I didn't answer the phone, and she left a voicemail. And it's her voice saying, hey, are you there? Do you want to have fun? Sorry. And she went on and on about, I hope you're having fun. Sorry. And anyway, shortly thereafter, Anne had to have her head shaved and wear an apparatus on her brain to help to try to reduce the size of the tumor from growing. At that point, she could not say a single proper name. She could talk and talk, but she could not say a name like Jody or Beth, or her kids' names like Corky or Brian, or her husband's name's Ken. You'd say, Anne, say Lake Winnipesaukee. And she'd say, yeah, there, I've been there. But she couldn't say a single proper name during that time. I came to visit, and we went out for another drive, and we drove all over town. She'd say, go there. And I drove all over town, and we'd visit all these different people throughout Bedford and throughout Greater Manchester and throughout Greater New Hampshire. And they would just know Anne and light up as she'd go and just would want to say hi and tell them how much she loved them and how beautiful they were. Couldn't say their name, but recognized the faces. During that time, we drove back across that bridge over to that little chapel. And we tried to get in, but it was COVID and the door was locked. And we sat in the parking lot, and she wept for the first time. And she said, I'm going to be okay. She couldn't say a proper name or anything, but I'm going to be okay. Anne passed away in November of 20. She died from glioblastoma, a brain tumor, cancerous brain tumor. But she left the biggest impact on my legacy and the legacy of my family. And so when we go into 2022, it's important to have all your stuff in place. It's important to get your financial accounts together. But I leave you with this. Take the time for family and friends. Unplug from it all. Have that mindfulness where you sit with folks and really listen to what they have to say without coming back to them with advice or with some kind of remark. And that is truly getting everything in its place. I think I have a couple more pictures here. Let me see. Can't remember. I kind of lost my train of thought here. Here's Anne and her family horseback riding a few months before she got really sick. And then here's Anne's family a few months before her head needed to be shaved. I leave you with that. Go into 22 with the right perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Jody, for that sharing that very personal story. Really appreciate your candor with that, and it's very touching and very, very impactful. And thank you for all your tips today and your all those apps. I took notes on all of them because there's a bunch of them I never even heard of before. So I'm definitely going to research that. Really, really appreciate you joining us and everything you had to share today. It's a great way to your not only information you shared, but the story and putting things in perspective for us to start off our year, and just your genuineness about it. I really appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for Jody? Now we have time for Q&A. So if anyone has any questions I'd like to ask, please put it in the Q&A box if you don't mind. Just way it's just easier for us to answer the questions. I'm going to switch over here to the Q&A. So if there's anything you'd like to say, or if I can always turn your camera on as well, if you'd like to join us on stage and to speak to Jody directly, or if you have something you'd like to share with the group, we do have some time. So let me know. You can either do your thumbs up on your picture or type in the chat box that you'd like to join on stage to share something. But feel free to put anything in the Q&A box.
Thanks, Ellen.
That's That's a tough thing to go through. And oh, we have a request here. Let's see, 1 second. Review who this is. But sorry, let me see who it was. Dallas. All right, Dallas, let me turn on your camera. 1 second here.
Hey, I see a question from Megan, it looks like. Thank you for sharing. In regards to credit score, if you put over 40% on credit card but pay it in full each month, does that still lower your credit score? What I have learned is that you really need to keep it under 30%. So they recommend making even a weekly payment to your credit card if you can, to keep that credit balance below, to keep that outstanding balance below 30%. You may even want to reach out to the credit card company and see if you can increase your credit limit. Would be another way to kind of manage that. So thanks for the question.
Thank you. And I'm asking Stephanie to turn on Dallas's camera because I apparently don't have the ability to do that. I thought I did.
Okay. Maybe I have to come off.
There we go. Thank you.
Oh, here we are. Hello. Thank you again as well for just an amazing presentation. You truly are an amazing professional that we all can benefit from learning about your stories. Just really quick about credit scoring. I had the pleasure of working in that industry for 19 years.
Oh.
So you hit it pretty head on. Years ago, it used to be like a 50% utilization. So we actually would recommend to folks to have a couple of credit cards and be sure to keep yourself within its limits. But your comment about making those weekly payments, because everybody wants to benefit from all of the rewards that you can get. So if you knew you're going to, do your debit card at the grocery store, but now you're using your credit card and you're going to do that $100, then just go right in at the end of the week and just go ahead and pay that down. And then asking for that credit, increase is also a really good thing, and you just want to balance. And that is the toughest thing, because a lot of us will get that credit card bill in and we'll pay it off, but we'll never see it at a zero balance because we're continually using it every month. So, do make some of those weekly payments. It doesn't hurt. The other thing I wanted to share with you is just about the importance that you talked about I use the word surrendering. It's like, don't do everything. You can't do everything. And the thing that I've shared with my sisterhood is that nobody knows what's going on in your little head. Do what you think you can do and then be happy with it. And I bet you people around you will be happy. And so that's another one. But my most important thing that you shared, that it took me to my 50s to really benefit from it, but is the importance of advocating for yourself. You talked about you went and met with your boss and you had your mentor that helped you really encourage to kind of speak up and ask for what you deserve. And I was very fortunate to have a young professional come work for us a couple of years ago. And when I was pursuing her to come work for us, I said, I'm taking off my company hat and I'm going to talk to you from a professional to professional and look and see what you're going to bring to the table. And you go for that. And all you can just shoot for it, because all you can do is go down. You never can get back up. So shoot for what you think you deserve. And getting her to get on our team, because of some of that coaching has been a gift that I've been thankful for, that I wish I knew in my 40s or my 30s.
Yeah. Great point.
Thank you, Dallas. Appreciate it. Does anyone else have any questions or anything else they'd like to share? No, we're good. Well, it's perfect timing then. Again, Jody, thank you so much. Really appreciate you joining us again. Like I said, it was exciting for us to have you back. Welcome back to Hampshire as well. We're glad we got you back. You're an asset to our community. You're an asset to the state of New Hampshire having you in our circle. So thank you so much. And actually, we have a couple other things that popped up in chat. I'll just make sure we have those. So with that, I'm going to do our closing remarks. So let me share again my screen. That's the only thing. It just takes 1 second here. It's slightly, I love Remo, but just one slight thing here. Okay. So everybody, next month, February 9th, we are going to have one of our committee members, Shannon Herman. She's going to be leading a topic. She's going to have a couple other professionals on. They're going to be talking about hiring and job hunting in the virtual world. So not only on recruiting, but preparing. So more to come on that. So please join us February 9th for that. And like I mentioned, March, we do plan on being in person, hopefully, fingers crossed, everybody, at the Manchester Country Club. But with that said, for those of you who are joining us who specifically joined because it's virtual, the benefit is we've listened, we've heard, we've recognized the fact that this has been a wonderful experience. So they're not going away. That's the good news. So we are going to alternate every other month. So we're going to have the best of both worlds. Our intent is to do alternate between in-person 1 month, virtual the next month. So as it stands right now, again, as we know, nothing is certain in the world we're living in right now, but it'll be March in person, April virtual, May in person, and so on and so forth. So that is the intent. So mark your calendars, obviously with a little asterisk up there, but looking forward, hopefully, to seeing everybody again, the February breakfast. For those of you who are new, please come back. We loved having you. Thank you so much. Thank you again, Alumni Ventures, for sponsoring. We really appreciate your commitment and sponsorship to our group. And we do want your feedback. So you've probably received a few surveys from us. You'll be receiving another one. We're taking it to heart. We want to make sure we're providing content that you're interested in, that you'll be continuing to join us for, as well as spreading the word about. So please do take the maybe 60 seconds or to fill out those surveys for you. And with that said, that is it. Again, Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jody Holt. Again, I really appreciate it. Thank you for those who participated in the chat box today. Renee, I know you're always very active. Thank you, Renee. And have a wonderful day, everybody. Go out there, be great. And I hope we achieved the inspiring and being inspired. Bye-bye, everybody.